much. I think we'll get started. If you could take your seats. Take your seats, please. Tip your bartenders. Toilets are out that way. Have a seat, please. I'm looking at my sister, Ailish. Ailish, have a seat, please. How's the volume back there? Is it okay? Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming. On behalf of my sister Ailish, who still hasn't sat down, and my brother Stephen, Peter there, Johnny, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight, this afternoon, for this celebration of life. Those of you who attended my dad's 92nd birthday back in July, that party may seem a bit familiar. We might have a very similar theme here today. In many ways, my dad's 92nd birthday party was, it was really a living wake for him. And it was really unfortunate for us, I think, that he was there to see it and to hear all the great accolades that were well deserved, I think. And you may hear some of those again here today. I'd particularly like to thank my sister Ailish, who, for the record, still has not sat down. Thank you, Ailish. She's worked so hard to make today possible. A big round of applause for Ailish. Oh, she's sitting down now. Okay. Thank you also to the staff here at Pasadena Club. They've done a great job. We really appreciate it. I also just want to thank all the friends and caregivers that cared for my dad in his last days. I know Sheila and Julie are here, and it was really a team effort. You know, it was the family, but it was also all of his extended friends. So thank you very much. It really meant a lot to us. This really is a celebration of two lives. Our parents, Dermot and Maureen, were just wonderful people, and I think they both deserve to be celebrated today. In many ways, my mum's passing was very sudden and surprising. We didn't really have a chance to do her justice, so I'd like to hope that today we do that for her, and in addition to my dad. They really were a team. We had some lovely photos here. Hopefully everybody that is here was on the screen at least once. We'll put that back on afterwards. So anyone who knew my mum and dad knew that they liked to throw great parties. That was their signature. And lots of music, lots of singing. And Dad's, we had all kinds of talent in the room. It was just fantastic. Whether it was Bud O'Brien on the piano, the Boyles singing a wonderful barbershop song that put us all to shame with the quality of it. Dad's signature, "Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble," you might hear later on. From the country bandstand. If you ever went to a farm party, we had a bandstand with a country band playing, and Dad would get up and sing a song. It was great fun. And then who could forget Father Brendan singing "Sean South of Garryowen," wrapped in an Irish flag, passionately singing "Sean South of Garryowen." So one thing I know, my parents would have wanted this to be a happy occasion, very much a celebration and not a somber occasion. So it is a sad occasion, but we want to keep it light, we want to keep it upbeat. That's what they would have wanted. They would have gotten really mad at us if we made it too somber. We have so many stories about my parents, and I'm sure we'll hear some of those stories, whether it was in Ireland or on the farm or here in St. Pete. But I'd like to mention one story in particular that kind of captures the humour and love of my parents. In our old house on 49th Street, we had a long dining room table, you might remember. It was made by a man named Al O'Dea from Tuam in County Galway. It was a lovely, beautiful, long African mahogany table, never a scratch on it. But it came with chairs that had only 3 legs. And you know, people would come to our house, have a lot of party, sing a lot of songs, maybe perhaps too much to drink, and inevitably they would drop their napkin and they would lean over to try to get the napkin, and they would fall out of the chair. So my dad wrote a poem, and in beautiful calligraphy on the wall, Helen Boyle, a great old friend of ours, wrote this poem on the wall as a warning to all. It was a very fair and legally binding warning to everyone. It said, These chairs are Irish, hence unstable. So do not drink unless you're able to fix your wounds and mend your bod, or find another orthopod. So I'm happy to say that those ALOD tables and chair survived the hurricane. Not much else did, but those table and chairs survived. And Mark Kilroy, now you are the proud owner of your chairs and tables. And I think it's time for you to paint a sign. Can't be coming too quick then. So that's all. I'm going to be MC here, but I'm going to invite a lot of people up to say things about Mum and Dad. And who am I starting with? I think I'm starting with Stephen. Okay, Steve.
You're ready for the backup later.
Okay, fair enough. My brother Stephen.
Yeah, I think the name Dermot for everybody has a special meaning here. You know, you just say it and you think, you know, some people think he's Dr. Dermot, okay? He retired at age 70, 72, something like that. So he had a good 20 years of not being a doctor after that. He was also, you knew him as a runner and a skinny runner. Remember, my dad was like, you know, a marathoner. People would always want to know, you know, what did Dermot think of that? He was a guy who's like the backstop of opinion. You know, I don't, you know, is it worth getting that operation or is it worth this? Ask Dermot. You know, he was always a go-to guy. Yeah, you know, a lot of the people here, Liz, the Kilroys, you all remember all the dogs they had at the place on 49th Street and then over at the Redmond Beach House. So I'm just going to recite some of those names just so you remember them. And this goes back now to 1970, so maybe only Ailish and I remember them. But Sive, it's a great Irish name for a dog. There was 2 dogs, Irish and Whiskey. And then there was 2 dogs. One was called Paisley, which was Ian Paisley was a Protestant minister, and one was called Poldy, which Leopold Bloom, so that his short name was Poldy. There was Bran, who was a very favorite dog. Hoss, you know, from the TV show. Sasha, who got eaten by an alligator at the ranch, a short life. And then the last 2 were Rocky and Bono. And Johnny named Bono was a female dog, but Johnny wanted that name Bono. So, Ringo. Sorry, Sasha. Who's Sasha then? Was that the Gators dog?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Did not get eaten by an
That was
alligator.
my dog.
Lived a happy life. Tired. So,
No. Don't eat it.
What about the cat?
Panger Bond. We were pretty cruel to cats at the time. We did a lot of abuse. But in 1994, I believe, at age 60, you know, my dad was born in 1933. So, you know, at the age of 60, they bought a place over in Ireland, the south of Ireland. You know, he was a Dublin man, but he bravely went down to County Cork and bought the Kinsale place, and many people in this room have been in that house. Of course, it was reimagined by my mom, who was delighted in any architectural imaginings. You know, she would recreate it. So it started off as maybe a 1-story, became a 2-story. It housed a lot of people. And then, you know, they had the ranch too. So I would say that they had a good run for 30 years. You know, from 1994 when he started to slow down a little bit until, you know, my mom died 2015. So they really had a very good life. And the group of friends here are, you know, essential to that. He was, you know, he was a patriotic American, but he would always say, "I'm just a poor Irish immigrant, you know, and I'm Catholic even more, so give me a break. I don't expect too much of me." I think a lot of the people here probably got a book recommendation from Dermot. Wouldn't doubt it. And I would say, oh my God, going back to when we were, in high school and even in our 20s, he would be the one we would learn about what's a good book to read. So I'm going to make a list here. Maybe some of you read these, but it's available after the show, if you will. One of the books that he told me about was by a French author named Alain Fournier, and the book is called Le Grand Monde. The guy's name was Meoulnes, Mons. But that book, it's the kind of book that would change your life, and Dermot would be the guy to recommend that. I was talking to David the other night about The English Passengers by a guy named Matt Neal. Great book. Is Larry Savitsky's here, right? Is he? Yeah, okay, yeah. There's a book by Paul Lynch called The Prophet Song, and my dad read it and he's, Jesus, that's depressing. But Larry summarized it succinctly. The most depressing book I've ever read. But it's a good book, but a depressing one. And then there was the Portage to San Cristobal of A.H. by George Steiner, The Wizard of the Kremlin by Dampoli, The Manchurian Candidate, which became, the book is, my dad would have read that book and recommended it. And then all the Russian histories. He loved Catherine the Great, history. Robert Massey wrote Peter the Great, all those great books. And then John Banville is a Dublin writer who he got Peter into John Banville and Peter got me into it. It was all Dad's recommendations. That's all the words I have, really. We all knew Dermot, and you could go on, but he was a big Hank Williams fan, and Hank Williams Sr., of course. So, he was, my dad was not towards the end, definitely did not like religion, organized religion. He loved thinking about life and death and philosophy, but he would have not wanted any Catholic singing here. But I think he would forgive us if we sang a Hank Williams song. And so I'm going to call on my brothers, Rafer, Johnny, and David. And we're going to have a shot at this.
Oh boy, prepare yourself.
Yeah, and we'll never rehearse. This is the unrehearsed. We have words, Declan? Well, he's going to try to put the words on for the people, but it's doable. Yeah. Let's see if Declan can do this.
Against all advice.
Let's launch into it.
Well, okay, all right. Okay, so me first, you're second. All right, okay.
You're in charge.
I wandered alone, life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Just like a blind man, I wandered along. Worries and fears I claimed for my own. And like the blind man, that God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
I was a fool to wander and stray, for straight is the gate and narrow the way. Now I have traded the wrong for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
My wife Lori is going to join me for a quick, we're going to do the second verse, the forgotten second verse. No. Thank you, Stephen. So I'd like to thank the Kilroys for hosting a virtual invasion of their home last night. So thank you for tolerating us. I'd also like to thank the Kilroys, the Gaynors, the Slomkas, Savitskis, Sheila and Julie, all the grandkids, and most of the people here for helping my dad the past many years and keeping him well. That was a collective effort. It was a rotisserie program that we had, and it seemed to work. So thank you for that. I'll say two things about my dad and the example that he set and my mom set for us as kids. They came from Ireland with a suitcase each in their hand, and they came to America. They took it on. They were unafraid of coming here, and they taught us the same thing, that as kids, you should go out and do things and make it happen, go for it. And Ailish went off to school in London, and David moved to Ireland, and he was supportive of all this. Stephen and I hatched a plan to go to Alaska and work, and he said, yeah, go do that stuff. And John went off to school in Scotland, and but this is what he was about, take it on. He encouraged me to go to New York City to work in banking, and I got a transfer to the Caribbean. And thank you, Dad, for encouraging me, because that's where I met my wife. So, well done, Dermot. He had a remarkable career as a physician, but for those who are younger here, it's not just about your job. It's about what you do outside of work that also matters just as much. So he was a fine physician, but also he was the chief of the medical staff, so outside of his role, at Palms of Pasadena, just down the road here. And he took that on. He took on other things like the Suncoast Runners Club. He was an avid tennis player at Seminole Lake and at Treasure Island. He did a lot of things, he's always active. And I think we can all learn from that. So he was a Mashie Niblick in Kinsale, which was a golf society. There wasn't much golfing going on. I think there was a lot more socializing there. But he was a marathoner, did about 30. Could never beat Alan Katz's PR. So that's, Alan, that's a great record. Sub 250 is very, very good. So I'd like to raise a glass. If we could raise a glass and have a toast to Dermot, a rancher, a master gardener, a Mashie Niblick, a tennis player, a marathoner, a trivia buff at Lake Seminole Square, a real Renaissance man, Dermot O'Connor, and we won't see the likes of him again.
Cheers. So we're all here today because we're all blessed to have known the one and only Dermot O'Connor, and I feel doubly blessed to be able to call him my father-in-law. Dermot and Maureen were the best examples of goodness there are in this world. These qualities are evident in their children and their 12 grandchildren, and I'm sure for generations to come. Dermot had the patience of a saint. For example, all the grandkids were at his house in Reddington Beach, and they were all running around, and they ran through the bathroom. And Dermot was taking a bath. He wasn't flustered at all. That's just the type of guy he was. And in more recent years, he was so grateful when you called him or simply reminded him to take his meds or did anything for him. I'm sure going to miss those thanks for calling, thanks for asking, words from him. Dermot, thanks for being the best father-in-law and friend. Sure going to miss you.
Johnny was going to recite the name of every cow that we had on the farm, but in the interest of time, we're going to skip that one, and we're going to move on. So now I think we've run out of children that my dad had, we know. So we're going to move on to extended family. So Liz and Gillian, do you want to? Liz is like our sixth sister, Gillian, sixth sibling. Gillian is
the rep from Dublin.
The rep from Dublin. So I'll hand it over to them.
So I am Frank Conroy's daughter. Frank and Maureen, the O'Connors' mother were brother and sister. And so I'm going to read a tribute to Dermot on behalf of the Conroys in Dublin, and it was written by Claude Conroy, who's one of the eldest, I guess, matriarch cousins. Okay, so when thinking of Dermot, one can only think of Maureen too, and together they were linchpins in the Conroy clan. Both always so generous and inclusive and fun to be around. Their generous spirits and joy to be spread out from their family to a large and loyal friend group. We spent lots of summers together in Florida and Kinsale and have great memories from both their wonderful homes. Home is something Dermot and Maureen were very good at. Their doors were always flung open and their arms too, and you felt immediately a member of their family when you stepped over their threshold. Such was their incredible hospitality. Dermot was a man of action and honour in everything he did. I've no doubt there will be many to testify to Dermot's many accolades and achievements in his career, but what I know is this: Dermot had great love and great passion. His greatest passion was his family, and his greatest love was always his family, and his greatest passion was always his work. It was wonderful to see all his friends and family gather for his 92nd birthday recently, and even though his body was not what it once was, his spirit was strong and his mind clear as a bell. Amazing. It clearly brought him immense joy and satisfaction, and after that occasion he must have felt that his work was done and he had accomplished all he could in this world and that he was at peace. He passed away only a few days afterwards. I believe he died a happy man with all his children all around him and his beloved wife Maureen waiting to meet him. Long may his memory live on. Ardèche Day Gareva Anam. And then I just wanted to say from my dad, one of his famous or favourite mottos was, "They lived and laughed and loved and left." So, thank you.
That's a hard one to top, Gillian. But I would love to say to how thankful I am for all the children that they have, because each are such remarkable, kind human beings and unique and also welcoming. They carry the spirit of their parents forward, and we are so proud and privileged and happy for them to be a part of our family.
Gillian's dad also had another saying that was very famous: everything in moderation, including moderation. Where's the part? I'm afraid to say my dad had 12 grandchildren, all of whom might be interested in speaking, so you're probably going to regret that he had so many grandchildren. But no, I'd like to call upon, let's see, we'll do it in order. Nora Claire Lowen, these are Peter and Laurie's children. Are all three of us going up?
Yeah, they
Okay.
all have all their own words to say, so.
Okay, Nora Claire Lowen.
So I'll go ahead and start. Being the eldest grandchild meant I had the great luck of knowing Papa for the longest. Papa was one of the smartest and funniest people I will ever meet. His mix of sharp humor and genuine warmth was something only he could pull off. Anyone who had the privilege of watching Jeopardy with him knows he knew every answer, and I'd just be sitting there being lucky if I even got one answer right to one of the questions. But beneath all his humor, he was such a kind and steady heart. Papa didn't need to give big speeches to teach us things. Just learned by how he treated people and how he found the joy in the small moments and could tell a story. Papa loved being together with people, from all the Thanksgivings, dinner parties, family gatherings. His home was always full with laughter and stories. He had the gift of turning ordinary nights into memories we would keep forever. One of my favorite memories will always be my last night in the house in Kinsale, sitting in the backyard with Papa and Gaga, watching the fireworks across the bay. It was one of those perfect, surreal moments. Papa was the heart of our family, and he made everyone feel welcome, loved, and a little bit lighter just by being around him. Even now, I can almost hear him say something of that was witty and make us smile through tears and heavy hearts. So I'd like to raise a glass to Papa for the laughter, lessons, and every bit of love he gave us. All right, a cordial, which means hello, my Irish friends. If I didn't start with that, I know he'd be mad. So, a cordial. But I always started with that when I would give speeches during COVID. I lived there for a few months, and we kind of ran out of things to do. I mean, we were drinking, and then that was it. But we decided that while I was a broadcast journalism major, I might as well do something to benefit while I wasn't in school. So we ordered a book of speeches, and every night I would get up there and give a speech, and he would try to guess who it was, and I just improved my public speaking skills. It was just a funny thing we did at the end of the night. So in a way, this is my last speech to him. Okay, I'll do my best to get through this. So when my dad died when I was 15, it really was my first experience with death. And I think about this a lot of times and how we never really get enough times with the one that we love. So with the time that we do have, it's so precious. And I think during COVID, I really started to think, oh, you know, there isn't that much time I'm going to get with him. So with the time that I do have, it's just so special. And I think that I learned so much from him during that time. But I think what I really learned from him wasn't the questions that I asked him and the stories that he would tell. I think it was just observing the kind of man that he was. And like my dad said, it was so much more about what he embodied and what he did at the end of his life and what it really came down to. And I think when I look at a room like this, it is so easy to say, oh, it comes down to friends, family, love, and just a good time. And that man just loved a good time. And I think he really just through his actions was able to show the kind of man that he was. But it does hurt, and I think when it hurts, it also, you know, makes me just happy thinking about how lucky we were to have him. And I could come up here and tell all these stories, but I think what makes me smile is that he knew how much I loved him. We all got to tell him, especially at the end of his life, and I think that birthday party was just such an honor because I sort of come up empty-handed here because I told him how much I loved him. I told him how much he meant to me. And that's just such a blessing to be able to say goodbye. So while it does hurt, sometimes it's just a blessing to be able to see that the person you loved knew that, knew how much I loved him. So to Papa, you were my grandpa, but more importantly, you were my biggest supporter, my role model. And as a poem you love to say, I shall arise and go now. So to Papa.
Sorry. Yeah, obviously Papa loved all of his grandchildren, all my cousins. He would always tell me how smart Dermot was, or you know how smart Vera was, and how athletic Dylan is at football. And he always told me how great I was at pouring whiskey every single time. Every single time. And I love doing it because, like Steven said, getting praise from Papa was just the best thing possible. It's a dopamine shot. It's amazing, and it's just something that I you know, very special times with him, and loved every single time. But in all seriousness, towards the end of his life, when he was 92 or 91 at this point, I went to go visit him, and we went to the Gulf Bistro, one of his favorite restaurants, and we got back from dinner. We had a great time, and I was like, Papa's doing this amazingly. And then the next day, Sheila came over and he had an oxygen tank, and Papa was a trooper, went through the whole process and never stopped fighting for life. And I think that's a great message we can say and tell ourselves is no matter how bad life may be, God was passed away and he kept fighting and kept going. And on a happy note, Papa wrote speeches for all 12 of his songs for all 12 of his grandchildren, and one that he wrote for me will never be forgotten. And so I thought I'd give it back to him one last time and sing it for you all. Goodbye, Dermot James. You're the apple of my eye. You're a decent boy from Ireland. There's no one can deny. You're very unfair and devil may care and decent Irish boy.
Thanks very much. Okay, Helen and Vera, Ailish's two daughters, are here to say some words. Here, Vera.
I always found my grandparents to be really admirable people. Like everyone's saying, they were kind of giants in a way. They were so talented and so well traveled and always had so much to share. I'm always going to remember their house as being a place of refuge and generosity. I'm really just going to miss sitting next to my grandfather watching Jeopardy and whatever else he recorded and listening to his favorite songs. I have a lot of really amazing memories with my grandparents, and I've heard from my cousins over the last couple of days that, they do too. It always meant so much to me that he cared so much about my education and all of our educations and just making sure that we had a good start to life. And so I think that we are all so lucky to have been connected to Dermot, and I would vote that his grandkids are luckiest of all. Thank you.
We are up to my kids. No, Dermot. Johnny's son Dermot has a few words to say here, so I'll hand it over. Dermot Jr.
Wow, that's pretty accurate. I'm a Dermot. It's in the name. I have to sing a song. And there are many beautiful and sad songs that are in the Irish lexicon, but my papa's favorite wasn't any of those. It was A Nation Once Again. It's a song of hope. I think it's very fitting for his character, because after Gaga died in 2015, no one thought he could live another few years, let alone 10. He went 10 whole years, and he got to see all of his grandkids grow up and see all of our futures. And I think it's indicative, because A Nation Once Again is a song of hope and a song about the future. And so I'm gonna sing that now.
Right.
When boyhood's fire was in my blood, I read of ancient freemen of Greece and Rome who bravely stood, 300 men and 3 men. And thus I hope I yet might see our fetters rent in twain, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. A nation once again, a nation once again, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. And from that time through wildest woe, that hope has shone a far light, nor could love's brightest summer glow outshine that solemn starlight. It seemed to watch above my head through foreign fields and fame. Its angel voice sang round my bed, a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again. And Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. So as I grew from boy to man, I bent me to my bidding, my spirit of each selfish plan and cruel passion ridding. For thus I hoped I yet might see, and nor can such hope be vain, and I might once again see a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again.
Thanks very much, Dermot. Mansell, you get to sing God Save the King at the end. Just as a counterpoint. Let's see, we're up to my children. Evie, Josie, Declan. They're going to recite, Claire alluded to it earlier, they're going to recite my dad's favourite poem by W.B. Yeats. And I'm going to let them introduce it.
Hi everyone, I'm Evie and it's Josie and Declan. We wanted to recite Dermot's favorite poem and Papa's favorite poem. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honeybee, and I live alone in the bee-loud glade.
And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the veils of the morning to where the cricket sings. There are midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings.
I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core.
Very good. Thank you guys. Well done. Well done, very good. Conrad and Dylan, anything to say? Yep, okay, we're going to hear from Stephen's children, Conrad and Dylan, and then that's the extent of the grandchildren, so who's taking the lead?
One of them, I would say that if I'm just trying to think of a memory I had with Dermot, I actually wasn't there, but he actually told me that before he actually passed, he said, he actually woke up and said, "Why am I not dead yet?" You know, I just thought that really reflected the kind of guy he was. He's always trying to find light in the situation. I mean, yeah.
Good.
So that was actually what I was going to talk about, but I'll go out and I'll just try to think of another memory. I'd say my favorite times with Papa were just the simple moments where you might not even say anything, where I would wake up at 6 a.m. to watch SpongeBob, and he would make me turn it off so we could watch Squawk Box and look at socks. And you know, as a kid, I never really appreciated how much I should have been learning, because every time he would do that, I would just walk away. But I think that what I loved most about Dermot was just his willingness to help, his willingness to understand you, and you know, he did understand that I was just a kid and I wasn't really in the mood for anything. But going back to Dylan's point, honestly, I think my favorite thing about him was his ability to find just funny moments, even in like the most serious situations. Like one time when I dislocated my knee, you know, I missed the entire football season. You know, back in the day that meant a lot to me. But he still made jokes about me being disabled. You know, I didn't really appreciate it because at the time I was really sad about that. But now looking back on it, I appreciate his ability to just try to do anything to cheer me up. Same, and then going back to Dylan's point where, you know, it's a serious situation. Papa's right before his passing, and he still finds a way to make it funny and, you know, make it all easy on, you know, his grandkids and his kids who were all with him when he passed. So those are just my favorite things about Papa.
Well, my dad was very, very lucky throughout his career, long medical career, to have 2 great partners that actually became our extended family. You couldn't say O'Connor without Sullivan and without Slomka. The SOS crew. And we have both Sullivans and Slomkas here today with us, and if they would like to say a few words about their memories with Dad, that would be really lovely. So I'll start with Slomka or Sullivan, whichever one you want. Okay, it's Howie Slomka. Adrian, where are you going? Oh, he's got props.
A prop for me like this.
know, you know. So I'm Howie Slomka. I was never Dermot's partner. But if you blur your eyes or take off your glasses, it kind of looks like Mike Slomka from the 1990s. And I'm both pleased and humbled to be reading my dad's words here. He is in Israel this week. He would not have missed this but for a trip that had been planned 2 years ago before the war. In honor of the occasion, I'm wearing a black diamond golf shirt. So again, I look like my dad, and he and Dermot spent many great rounds, or at least great hours, at Black Diamond. And also, those of you who are insightful can see that it's a very understated nod to the Buccaneers who are playing today, because it's game day, so I have to be in game day colors. With regard to both Dermot and Maureen, my personal family, the Atlanta Slomkas, we owe them such a wonderful debt of gratitude. For 5 summers, I came down to Pinellas County to work with my client. They wanted me here for a whole month over the summer or more. And where in the world could we stay? And it was Maureen and Dermot who said, "Don't be silly, we're going to be in Ireland. Stay in our house." And because we just give and give, we agreed to watch their house in Reddington Beach. And those were such special times. So for your parents, if anyone here has a beach home or a mountain home or an island home, and I would do that for them and for you. So you just find me afterward. I envy what my dad and Dermot and Don had. I've had partners of my own, and I've had successful partnerships. I have never had what they had, and I really envy that, and I respect it. And I see, Pat and Andy are here, and I think I speak for all the Slomkas and all of the Sullivans when I say to the O'Connors, "God, are you tall?" Pat, do you remember how tall they were when we were kids? My dad he was not a runner. He played tennis and golf all the time, but of course his 2 partners had more t-shirts than you could count, because every Sunday they were out running another race. And my dad used to always say, when I was a kid, I heard him say, "Look, I believe that God gives you so many steps in your life. You can take them all at once, or you can spread them out over your whole life." And it was about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, my dad was having lunch with Don and Dermot, and at the end of the lunch, he challenged them both to a race. And at the end of the day, my dad won that race. So again, these are my dad's words, and I'm just delivering them. I first met Dermot in April of 1974 when I interviewed for a position with O'Connor and Sullivan, 2 Irishmen and a Jew. Who'd have thunk it? I started practice in June of 1974 and saw Dermot almost every day until his retirement. What a privilege. He was an ideal partner in every way. A talented surgeon, a clear thinker, a great teacher, a wonderful friend, a mentor, and so much more. We wouldn't see more of each other, but Dermot and Don were always freaking running somewhere. We remodeled our office, and we even built a shower. I used it 3 times in 20 years. Not a great investment for me. Speaking of investments, Dermot managed our profit sharing plan on his own for many years, with the slight help of Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. Later, Dermot became a highly successful day trader, very knowledgeable in every transaction, and very willing to share sagas of his triumphs. His losses, not so much. We traveled together on many occasions, often to Orthopedic Academy meetings. Somehow, there was often a marathon in the very same host city. I never accompanied Dermot in the race, but I did teach him how to carbohydrate load on Jewish deli foods. We did a delightful cruise on the Mediterranean Sea with Maureen and Dermot, and my mom, Sandy. Hi, Mom, she's here too. Lots of sightseeing, lots of food, lots of laughs, and a lot of entertainment, especially when I volunteered Dermot to sing, "Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble," in the ship's atrium, which he did. So many happy memories at Cove Bend Ranch, eating rattlesnake, roping wooden horses, and Lori falling off a horse. She never rode since. Special times also in Kinsale with Dermot and Maureen, golfing together in woolly caps and Gore-Tex in the Irish summer weather. Ballybunion the old head, and with the mashing niblets before a pint and a party at the Spaniard. I thought I was good at trivia, but I was no match for Dermot, who not only gave the answers in English, but also in Latin and Gaelic. He was a raconteur par excellence, remembering forever not only his stories, but mine as well. Mike, tell the one about this or that. He would often change my punchlines to fit the occasion, most notably when he changed Ella Fitzgerald to Whoopi Goldberg. And if you want the reference, find me later. That was Howie talking. You can find Howie later and I'll tell you that reference. All right, back to Mike. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I loved the guy. My life is definitely better for having known him, infinitely better. I miss him, but he will remain with me always. I'm currently on a medical delegation to Israel, but my thoughts are with the entire O'Connor family, as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Sullivan?
We might have been taller, but you guys are smarter, so. The trade-off. Would you mind opening that?
Oh, no, there's nothing.
I'm gravely disappointed, it's empty. No Charles tips, but thanks for the sentiment.
I am not Don Sullivan, so I'm going to give it to my father here.
I have a bit of history. Something that the Irish will like, I think. On July 1st, 1972, I packed up all my belongings in my little Volkswagen, mustard color, drove over to the hospital, walked up on the 7th floor, and went into a room, and there was the chief of orthopedic surgery, the patient, and Dermot O'Connor. And I said, I'm here to join up, and he was now to become my partner for the next year there, and he had set it aside so that I got the hardest, most hard-nosed, obstreperous chief of certain orthopedics that there wasn't a brother. But I accepted, and over the next year, Dermot and I, and Irene and Maureen, all became great friends. And we worked it out, and for over these many years, 4 years or so, it came a time for their program to end. And Dermot said to me, I was on my way to Vietnam, and he said to me, you know, I'm an Irish citizen. I don't have to go. And that's your poor immigrant. And he stayed in town and went to work in St. Petersburg. And 4 or 5 years later, I came back from Vietnam, and I was in the south side of Chicago, and we got an invitation one night. It was a cold, rainy night in the fall, and the leaves were on the ground, and the leaves were falling. It was windy in Chicago. And Irene said to me, she said, Dermot just called, and he's got a party for us to go to. And I said, oh, for Christ's sake, he lives on the north side of town. That's an hour's drive for us to get there, and it's a dismal night. And so we went up there, and an hour later, after we left the party, Dermot turned to me and he said, you know, things are really good down in St. Petersburg. I'd like to have a partner. And I said, well, you know, I'm not too happy where I'm at. So maybe I should come down there and visit you and see what you got. And I did. I flew down in my plane and I visited with him, and we had a nice night in the O'Connor residence. He introduced me to all his friends. There was some other party going on. And that's how I ended up down here. Just that. Dermot's party, and of course the introduction to all his friends and everything. Now, when I left the practice, I went up to Tallahassee, and I met a lot of people up there. And we always had a saying: if you want to have a friend in Tallahassee, you better bring your dog. But it taught me to recognize the good people, and I've never regretted in all my time with Dermot making that move. He was such a wonderful person. He was an asset to the community. He was an asset to all of the people in the profession. Everyone respected him. And never once did we argued about a lot of things, especially me slopping water on the shower in the room after our run. He and I were the best of friends, never could express all our differences and all our opinions, and never get mad at each other. We just like each other even more. And so I would say this to the O'Connor family: you're a wonderful group of people. You're breeding true. And I don't mean because you're nice people, it's because all of you like to get in front of the microphone. I'm so proud to have known the O'Connors, and I'm so proud to have been introduced to the Irish culture and all the things in Ireland. I named my farm after my drunken trip through Ireland's golf tournament one time. And Riverstick Plantation now is on the basis of the town Riverstick in Ireland. As a result of a 2 o'clock in the morning visit to the bar where they had to open up the bar. And I always thought the golf tournaments you went and you played golf. Well, we went at 7 o'clock in the morning, we left. We didn't get home till midnight, and we just played golf for about an hour and a half. So great known the whole tour.
Don, those were great words. I really appreciate it. Don also on his farm had a dog named in honor of my dad. His name was Dermot. And I hope Dermot is still going strong. So we were one of the first Irish families to move to St. Petersburg. The Boyles were really the first, but they brought my parents in, really just embraced them, and since they were already here, they really showed them St. Petersburg, but then we were the first Irish family, and then many came after, and we have such a great group of Irish friends that have come over the years. The Kilroys and the Gaynors are here, and we'd love to hear a few words from the Gaynors and the Kilroys, so we start with Ronan. Ronan Gaynor, please. A Class 11 man.
What a wonderful group of people. I've known Dermot for, believe it or not, over 85 years. I can say that without anybody else in this room, Dermot and I were born in a suburb of Dublin, Glasnevin, which is better known because it houses Ireland's biggest cemetery. And Glasnevin is sometimes called the dead centre of Dublin, which of course is geographically incorrect. When we were in high school, Ireland was just recovering from the Second World War and all the effects of the Second World War. And there was much talk about local defence. This tells you how old I am. Many of us teenagers, including Dermot, decided to join the local defence force, wanted to be part-time soldiers, and the force was called the FCA, but it was known as the Free Clothing Association. You got a new pair of boots every year. Dermot's infantry was called the Pearshig, which is named after Patrick Pearse, the leader of the 1916 rebellion against the British. In those days, there was a group of us lads who knocked around together, did various things together. I won't tell you everything we did, but I'll tell you some of the things we did. For example, on Sundays after Mass, we played poker. And none of us had much money in those days, but we were good poker players. And some, you won some, you lost some, and depending on how much you won, was your spending pattern the following week was decided on that. On other Sundays, we spent some time in botanic gardens, not looking at the plant life, but meeting the girls who also frequented there. And a lot of friendships came out of that particular meeting. In Ireland, high school is called secondary school, and it differs from the American system in that we have to pass one large exam, one tough exam in the last year and in the last day of your, last weekend of your secondary school education. And depending on the results of that exam, if you don't do well in it, you won't get into college. If you do well in it, you get into college. You have to do a lot better if you want to go to the college that you've decided you go to. And even your results depend on what study you pursue. Medicine was very popular. You have to be really, really high up to get medicine. Dermot, believe it or not, got first in Ireland in the Leaving Certificate examination. He also got first in Ireland in the university scholarships. And he secured a high spot in a separate exam for the civil service. Now, the idea of a reasonably paid job had a certain attraction, so Dermot decided to join the civil service after he left high school. He was posted to a department which catered for the Irish-speaking part of Ireland, where business was conducted through the medium of the Irish language. And Dermot, you may not know this, but he was a fluent speaker of Irish. While working in the civil service, he signed up to Trinity College Dublin for a degree in commerce. Now, I should tell you that at that time, the Catholic Church did not allow Catholics to go to Trinity College. If you wanted to go to Trinity College, you had to get the permission of your parish priest. Dermot chose to ignore the ban. After spending some time at the job, he decided that he was not cut out to be a civil servant, so he decided to do medicine instead. He left the civil service and signed up for medicine in University College Dublin. That's another university. Now, I think he created a first in the Irish scholarship system. Normally, a scholarship, university scholarship, is for one university and one degree. He persuaded them to stretch that to 2. Now, the challenge of attending 2 universities at the same time was quite considerable, but not a bother to Dermot. And that went on for at least 2 years until he graduated in commerce at Trinity College. Dermot also excelled in the medical school. Just passing exams was not good enough for him. He had to have a first or a second each year, which he invariably got. During his internship in the Mater Hospital, while he was a medical student, he told me about the frequent Guinness parties enjoyed by the medical students. In those days, believe it or not, the Guinness organization provided bottles of Guinness to all the patients in the maternity wards. Something about the nutritional value of the drink. Now, many of the ladies didn't like Guinness, so there was lots of bottles of Guinness around, unused, which the medical students took good care of, hence the parties. Dermot met his life partner, Maury, while he was in medical school. And I met my life partner, Una, about the same time. I introduced Una to Dermot and Maureen on our first date, which happened to be a dance in a ballroom in Skerries, which is now a block of flats. Ballrooms are gone. We got on very well together, so much so that we double dated for many, many times, and Dermot and Maureen became like sisters together. Dermot and Maureen were married on Bloomsday, which was made famous by James Joyce's Ulysses. Dermot was always very happy to tell you that one of his relatives was mentioned in the book, that old bollocks Troy. The wedding breakfast was held in the Royal Marine Hotel Dunleary, which by coincidence was within walking distance of the Martella Tower mentioned in the first pages of Ulysses. Una and I said our farewells to Dermot and Maureen at the end of the wedding celebration. They left at that time to emigrate to the United States. It was a very sad time for us. We kept in touch over the years and indeed visited O'Connor's in Florida on a number of occasions, not realizing that we were going to end up in Florida also. In 1985, we moved to Orlando, Florida, and in 2004 we came to Treasure Island, living within 10 minutes drive of each other, which was a very good move for us. Their home in Remington Beach was the scene of many memorable parties, where we all enjoyed Dermot's well-known singing talents. Since Maureen died, the wonderful family that Dermot was surrounded by provided great support to him during a difficult time. And in recent years, his remarkable family took great care of him. And on most weekends, you would find some member of the family with him in Florida. As most of you are aware, Dermot was an extraordinary person with a brilliant mind and an incredible memory. He was very compassionate, thoughtful, considerate, generous, and an exceptional family man. In looking back over the many years of our friendship, I can simply say that we were blessed as a family to have Dermot as a friend. We will always miss him. May he rest in peace.
Very well said. As I said, we have many Irish families here. The Malones, we have McMullen. I hear from the McMullens via video in a bit, but I'm going to hand it over to this girl you're here, Craig Kilroy, to represent the Kilroys.
I'm on deck.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
So I don't technically have any remarks prepared, but that won't stop me. There's been a lot of talk about Dermot's wit, and certainly he had a prodigious wit. He was always quick with a joke, and you could count on that. But I'd like to talk about his love of knowledge and his deep understanding of the world. I did not know actually that he finished first in the leaving, but I'm not surprised. And if you've asked Dermot about the succession of English kings in England and Ireland in the 1600s, and it was James and Charles, or Charles and James, who knows, but Dermot knew. He knew, and he could probably turn that into a song as well, and he would have the ability to do that. And he certainly passed that on to his children. So I remember coming across from Ireland. We had a pretty good education system in Ireland, but we ran up against the fact that the O'Connors were incenting their children to read books by paying them. There was a bounty on the books, basically, and if you read a certain number of books over the summer reading, you would receive a dollar value. And as we all know, I think incentives matter. And so I got my brothers and sisters together and we talked about this, right? And we said, how do we compete with this? How is this possible? These guys are professionals. Impossible. And that was passed on to the kids and obviously on to the grandkids, based on everything we've seen and heard today. So that knowledge was a big part of what I got from Dermot. The last time I saw Dermot was after the 92nd birthday, and I went into the room late that evening. There was some drink taken, and Dermot was there surrounded by the family, surrounded by grandkids. And I asked him, hey, Dermot, I said, who's going to win the premiership this year? Right? And he said, I would keep an eye on Arsenal, he said. And so, you know, that's a little tip, actually. If you're looking for a quick bet, I think they're number one at the moment, which is unusual for Arsenal. So I would like to, you know, we're talking about the future here, future generations, the wonderful things that Dermot and Maureen have done to pass that love of knowledge on to the next generations and perpetuate that. But I'd like to sing a song about the past and what Dermot certainly and Maureen represented for me as a kid and all the way through in terms of where they came from and what they believe in. So I'd like to sing a song. Raised on songs and stories, heroes of renown, the passing tales and glories that once were Dublin town, the hallowed halls and houses, the haunting children's rhymes that once were part of Dublin in the rare old time. Everybody now, everybody. Ring-a-ring-a-rosy, come on in. As the light declines, I remember Dublin City in the rare old times. Oh, my name, it is Jack Dempsey, as Dublin as can be, born hard and late in Pimlico, in a house that has ceased to be. My trade, I was a cooper, lost out to redundancy, left my house now gone to progress, my trade to memories. Ring-a-ring-a-rosy, as the light declines, I remember Dublin City in the rare old times. And I courted Peggy Diagnan, as pretty as you please, a rogue and a child of Mary from the rebel liberties. I lost her to a astute chap with eyes as black as coal. When he took her off to Birmingham, she took away my silvers and ring-a-ring-a-rosy. As the light declines, I remember Dublin City in the rare old times. Oh, the years have made me bitter, the gargle dims me brain, the things they keep on changing, and sure nothing stays the same. The pillar and the Met have gone, the Royal long since pulled down, as the grey unyielding concrete makes the city of my town. Ring-a-ring-a-rosy, as the light declines, I remember Dublin City in the rare old times. Okay, last one. So fare thee well, Anna Livia, I can no longer stay to watch the still glass cages rise up upon the quay. My mind's too full of memories to experience, to learn new rhymes. Sure, Dermot and Noreen are part of Dublin in the rare old times.
Thanks, Craig. You can tell we have a lot of great singers in the audience, and I'd like to just point out too, my father's brother, Brendan O'Connor, was a great singer, owned a pub up in New York, and we're very, very pleased that his two sons, Michael and Brendan, are here as well. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Maybe we'll get a song out of you later. A few more drinks in you. We have a lot of Irish families, obviously, in the audience, but we have honorary Irish people as well. And through the years, we've incorporated some of them into the Irish community, corrupted them. And we have the Osaditsky's are here. And John Eric Osaditsky is going to say a few words, so I'm going to hand it over to him.
I was going to sing the Rare Old Times. Can't do that two in a row. In past events like this, I've written and recited lyric poems and epic poems and limericks on Dermot's behalf. And I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to be very brief. One thing I was going to say, but I think he just left the room. On the way here, Denise and I were talking about the fact that we have to go to a wedding in New Orleans at the end of next month. And we were talking about who could stay at our house. And Howie just walked out to take a phone call. So when he gets back, everybody periodically say, I heard you're going to house sit for the Savitzky's next month. I think that one of the greatest tributes someone could imagine as a parent is children who want to take care of them, who want to come and visit. And I know it's been acknowledged a bit, even here tonight, but I don't think it's been publicly acknowledged the way I think it should. In truly one of the greatest acts of human kindness you can imagine. Ever since Maureen passed, God rest her soul, 10 years ago now, it's been a marvel to my family, and I think to everybody in the room, how Ailish and Stephen and Peter and Johnny and Dave, every week, almost every week for 10 years, made it part of their lives to come to St. Pete and to take care, just to be with Dermot, so that he wasn't alone. And he's always surrounded by people like all of you in this room, and he didn't take that for granted. But I don't think there's a better tribute to a person than that. I know Ailish took the lion's share of the organization, but everybody pulled their own time and made it their lives to come with their significant others, with their children, with their grandkids, with his grandkids, just to be a part of his life. And there's nothing that I could write or that many people could say that hasn't already been said that's a better tribute than acknowledging what you guys all have done for your parents. So.
Thank you, Jay. Right, well, we have, I think, one video we'd like to show, and then we're going to finish up with a couple of songs, and we have this place until 5 o'clock, so, oh, actually, Boone, you want to say something too, so I'll make sure Boone Brackett says something as well. We'll have a video from David McMullen, another one of the Irish families that moved to the area, and my son Declan is standing here now, going to bravely work the video in a way that I could never do. So yeah, we have a couple of songs after, and then we have this place until 5. So obviously, please stay and share memories and enjoy yourselves. This is David McMullen. Yeah, Paul McMullen, who passed away last year, and Howard McMullen, who lives in Howth. So they're good old Irish family. Here, okay, will you hold it? Okay. This is a very realistic background.
Even though we'd love to be there to celebrate the life of Dermot, I wanted to greet you and send along some memories and a bit of a message that I put together in memoriam and in celebration. In loving memory of Dermot O'Connor. Dermot Maureen O'Connor, what a pair they were. A couple who seemed made for each other, their spirits dancing in step through life. Together they brought light, laughter, and love wherever they went. My memories of the O'Connor family go back as far as I can remember. The grand gatherings of the Irish clans, when Kilroy, O'Connor, Boyle, Gaynor, Kennedy, Malone, and McMullen families would all come together. All joy and banter, stories told, songs sung, hearts full. Those were the days, kind that live forever in our hearts. Let's also not forget the honorary Irish clans, Savitsky, Avery, Martin, and Jones, plus the Newfies, Dobbin, O'Brien, R.D., and O'Callaghan. And then there was the farm, that wonderful place of freedom and discovery, filled with the sound of voices and smell of the fields and the cows, and the feeling that you belong. I also have fond memories of Empath in Kinsale, and the beautiful summer days spent with Dermot and Maureen as we sat with my grandparents and my parents, soaking in the beauty of an Irish day and their easy grace. Maureen had a warmth that wrapped around you like a soft shawl. She made everyone feel at home. She carried a mother's grace for all who came through her door, comforting and kind with a smile and laugh that wrapped you in joy and happiness. And Dermot, with his wit, his sparkle, his generous heart, always ready with a tune or for a laugh. Together, they were pure magic. What I'll never forget are the moments when Dermot would rise to sing. And not just his notable solo performances. Lord, it's so hard to be humble. But as an accompaniment and support alongside my mother and father in the good old days. Or later on when my mother's voice had grown quiet. Dermot was there. A nod, a smile, and a steady heart. He lifted his own voice to bring hers back to life. And there was such kindness in that gesture, a true friend's gift. And I can still see it, my father singing with Kevin Barry with pride, Dermot beside him, giving it all through the high notes, smiling that unmistakable smile. Those were the moments made of pure Irish spirit, of friendship, courage, and song. Dermot and Maureen meant the world to us, to the McMullen family, and to all who knew them. We'll always remember them for their laughter, their music, and their endless generosity of heart. Two souls fit together like music and laughter, light and love. May they rest together now, where the fields are green, the songs are sweet,
much younger person. Who left their glasses? Roland, okay. There you are. That's lovely. I think we're going to have Boone Brackett, one of Dad's old partners from Chicago, going way back, say a few words, and then we're going to finish up with a couple of songs. So, Boone Brackett, please. Thanks, Boone.
Thank you very much. I feel a little bit embarrassed here being the dog in the manger. But I'll tell you, you know, if you ever want to know anything about a man or a woman, look at their descendants. That's all you need to know. This man was amazing. He was a great, great friend, a great orthopedic surgeon. I'll tell you two things and I'll turn over the podium. Number one, Dermot told me this years ago, how he got into his internship. He picked a hospital which had one inalterable rule, that is, they only took American graduates. They graduated from an American college. So he said, that's the one that here in St. Petersburg. I don't remember the name of it, but you of course did. He showed up there, showed his portfolio, and this is exactly what he told me. And he looked at it and he said, well, you're governor here. We don't take any foreign graduates. And in his eyes rolled, he said, that's why I'm here. I know if you don't take any foreign graduates, that you have a higher standard of care. But I can tell you, I don't want to mess with anyone who would accept the average foreign educated person. That shocked that man so much that he didn't let him talk to the whole committee. And if he did that, you know what happened? They didn't have a chance. They took him and they were awfully good and glad that they did. Or he let a streak across the sky that goes all the way to Chicago. And I'll tell you one thing early on, and I'll be through with next story. Do your thing. Chicago, we both at the Cook County Hospital, and they working for the magnificent sum of $100 a month. And they all looked at us, and the professors were saying, they said, oh, well, remember that you can't do any side jobs. Well, you couldn't live if you didn't have a side job. So everyone had them, and that was the Chicago way. You say this is the rule, and everybody follows it. And they're still holding that out pretty well, actually. So anyway, Dermot found out in some way that I had to have a special thing sort of like he did, but in order to get into Northwestern. And he told me that story. But here I'll tell you the last story in 2 minutes. You need to know what kind of man he was. We had a job. I had a job and he had a job, and we worked in this little hospital. And if you were a surgical resident, they would take you, because a surgeon can, pretty well take his way through internal medicine and all that, like the Merck's manual. And so we were hired for this. And I was working at the hospital. He was to come and relieve me at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was a snowy day in Chicago, and I had to be at another hospital about 30 miles away at 7 o'clock. And I had 2 or 3 kids at home, and I had to have this extra job. And $100 didn't do it in Chicago. Well, he was almost 7 o'clock. He's usually half an hour early. And it's getting closer and closer to 7 o'clock. Where is Dermot? My God, miss it. About 5 minutes to 7, in comes Dermot. Blood streaming down his face. what has happened is his car had slid off the highway, hit a pole, hit his head, cut himself up into his hairline, and it came in like this, and looked at the clock, said, "Thank God I'm not late." I said, "Drummond, you want me to give you a couple of stitches in there?" "Oh, hell no, get your job, he's gonna be late anyway." Now, you can't beat that. And that was the start of a friendship that stayed with a decade, many decades hiatus, because I stayed in Chicago like an idiot. And he came down here to God's country, and the rest is history. I have known many people, many of them great. There's nobody can hold his he's the best. And we're all lucky to have known him. Thank you.
Thank you for those great words. I hadn't heard that story actually about my dad. It's about the car accident.
Oh yeah.
So, explains a few things. We have a late entry from Lynn Kilroy, who's going to make up for all the transgressions of her brother.
Hardly. Hi, everyone. I'm only going to take a couple of minutes. So I am a Kilroy. I'm Lynn, one of the four, and Robbie and Jane and the O'Connors. You know, our grannies grew up on the same road on Butterfield Crescent. So our granny and your granny, they all grew up together. And that is how, in fact, we ended up moving and having one contact, one family that we knew here in America when we moved in 1980. I was 10 years old, 5th grade, and I remember Maureen picking us up in her Volkswagen van. Do you remember that one? It was red. And I remember getting off the plane, I could hardly breathe because of the humidity in America. And I remember going across the Howard Franklin Bridge and seeing the twinkling lights. It was dark. That's all I saw. I didn't even know that there was water there. And the O'Connors were so good to us. And it's so nice to see this room full of so many O'Connors. They're incredible spouses and partners. And they're talented, wonderful grandkids. It's such a testament to the family. It's also really nice to have seen David McMullen and so many other familiar faces in the room. Hazel and Mansell Jones, the Slomkas, the Sullivans. We've had many a New Year's Eve party, banging pots and pans with Mary Kelly. Mary Kelly won the talent competition in one of our New Year's Eve parties. It was wonderful. The Gaynors, of course, growing up with Liam and Connor and Mary at family occasions. And the Boyles, that was my first Thanksgiving ever, being at the Boyles' house and understanding what Thanksgiving was all about. But I was always intimidated by Dermot because he was so smart. And I remember I thought we had something in common when I started running. So I asked him for some advice when I was getting ready to run my first marathon, and he said, "Let it be your last." There's been a lot of singing, and I appreciate that always as a Kilroy, but there was this poem, and recitation was something I felt like he appreciated a lot. So there was this poem by Percy French that I think he appreciated, so I'm going to say it now, if that's all right. And you know, Percy French, not only was he a poet, but he was also a songwriter, an artist. Some of my favorite songs that my dad sings and has sung with Dermot were Percy French songs, like "Are You Right There, Michael?" "McBrien's Heifer," "The Mountains of Mourne," and "Phil the Fluter's Ball." Those are all favorites. But this one is called "Ach, I Dunno," and it's a favorite. I'll try and do it without looking at the words because Dermot would have appreciated that, his brilliant mind, his brilliant memory. And I think it's about someone who's a bit lost with what they're going to do. And so some of that maybe resonates with people in the room. It does with me. And maybe we still don't know what we're going to do, but I think Dermot loved a recitation. So Percy French, I don't know. I'm simply surrounded by lovers, since Da made his fortune in land. They're coming at me like the plovers, to ask for me hand. There's clerks, and policemen, and teachers, some sandy, some black as a crow. Ma says you get used to the creatures, but I don't know. The convent is in a commotion to think of me taking a spouse, and they wonder I haven't the notion of taking the vows. 'Tis a beautiful life and a quiet, and it keeps you from going below. As a girl I thought I might try it, but I don't know. I've none but myself to look after, and marriage, it fills me with fears. Sure, even one little baby's, oh hang on, I think I'll have less of the laughter and more of the tears. But I'll not be a slave like me mother. With 6 of us, or 4 of us, all in a row, even one little baby's a bother, but I don't know. There's a lad that has taken me fancy, and I know he's a bit of a limb. Though marriage is terribly chancy, I'll chance it with him. He's coming tonight, oh I tingle, from the top of me head to me toe. I'll tell him I'd rather live single, but I don't know. For Dermot.
Thank you, Lindy. Love that poem. I think we're going to wrap up with a couple of songs. 2 of my dad's favourites. You should have a handout now with the lyrics. He would rebel at that idea. He would say, I should do it from memory. But we're going to cheat a little bit. We'll start with, Oh Lord, It's So Hard to Be Humble. This was his signature, as I said earlier. I can still picture him on the country bandstand at the farm with blue jeans on, because he had to play the part. So, I'm going to sing it, but I want everybody in the audience to sing it. So, oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. I used to have a girlfriend, but I guess she just couldn't compete with all these love-starved women who keep clamoring around at my feet. Well, I probably could find me another, but I guess they're all me. Who cares? I never get lonesome, 'cause I treasure my own company. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. I guess you could say I'm a loner, a cowboy outlaw, tough and proud. Well, I could have lots of friends if I wanted, but then I wouldn't stand out from the crowd. Some folks say that I'm egotistical. Hell, I don't even know what that means. I guess it has something to do with the way I fill out my skin-tight blue jeans. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's so hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. If you flip your page over now. Song number 42 in the hymnal. This was the traditional song that we used to tell everybody to go home. This is the end of the night, no more. I think, is Craig there? Anyone else want to come up and just give us some moral support up here? All right, fair enough. Okay, we're going to start. Yeah, 2 hands, really. Yeah, we get some more people up here. This is the farewell. And Sarah's coming up. You have the best voice of all of us, actually. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. All right.
See if Brendan will
The 3 amigos. Brendan, will you come up as well? Go on, just for moral support. Brendan O'Connor, everyone. This guy does this bloody song professionally, so he's going to show us up here now.
Finny, come on.
Go on, the 3 amigos. Right. Of all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they are sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that e'er I had would wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with you all. The Germans! Thank you all. That is the end of the speechifying, but we've got time to have some more food, have some more drink, and talk more amongst ourselves. So thank you all so much for coming. It's really been a wonderful day.